choices when their families are threatened. She paused, studying the jurors' faces. The prosecution talks about the money Judge Harrison received as if it were some kind of windfall. But think about what that money really represented. The price of his family's safety, the cost of his son's treatment, the weight of threats that hung over his head every single day. Chen returned to her table, then faced the jury one last time. Judge Harrison is guilty of taking bribes. He's admitted that. But I ask you to consider his full story, the pressures he faced, and the impossible choices he was forced to make. Justice isn't just about punishment. It's about understanding the full truth of what happened and why. The verdict. The jury deliberated for 3 days. The extended deliberations suggested they were taking their responsibility seriously, weighing the evidence carefully against the gravity of the charges. When word came that a verdict had been reached, the courtroom filled quickly. Harrison sat beside his attorney, holding his wife's hand tightly. In the gallery, victims and their families waited anxiously to see if justice would finally be served. "Has the jury reached a verdict?" Judge Coleman asked. The jury foreman, a retired school teacher named Robert Martinez, no relation to Detective Martinez, stood slowly. "We have, Your Honor. On the charge of accepting bribes, how do you find? We find the defendant guilty. On the charge of obstruction of justice, how do you find? We find the defendant guilty. On the charge of racketeering, how do you find? We find the defendant guilty." The guilty verdicts continued for all 17 counts. Harrison closed his eyes, finally accepting the consequences of his actions. His wife sobbed quietly while his adult daughter comforted her. Judge Coleman scheduled sentencing for the following month, allowing time for pre-sentence reports and victim impact statements. Sentencing and redemption. The courtroom was packed as victims, including Sarah Mitchell and George Patterson, testified about how Judge Harrison's corruption had ruined their lives. Their heartbreaking stories highlighted the real-world consequences of his actions. In a surprising turn, Harrison's son, David, addressed the court. He clarified that his father's crimes were not his fault, and his addiction didn't excuse what happened. He directly apologized to the victims and told his father, "What you did was wrong." When Harrison gave his final statement, he showed no excuses, only deep remorse. He acknowledged losing everything, including his integrity, and confessed to betraying the very system he once upheld. He apologized to the victims and asked for his punishment to be a reminder that no one is above the law. Judge Coleman delivered the sentence: 15 years in federal prison, restitution, and forfeiture of his pension. She noted that while his actions were inexcusable, extraordinary circumstances like family threats provided context for his fall from grace. Epilogue: The Aftermath. 2 years later, Detective Martinez received a letter from Harrison. He was teaching literacy to inmates and writing a book on judicial corruption. His cooperation led to the conviction of crime boss Marcus Volkov and the dismantling of his criminal organization. The Harrison case became a catalyst for significant judicial reforms, including better financial oversight and improved security for judges. Sarah Mitchell's testimony before the state legislature helped secure these changes. Though Harrison's fall was devastating, his prosecution ultimately strengthened the system he had corrupted. The story serves as a reminder that integrity is essential to justice, and eternal vigilance is the price of a fair legal system. This story serves as a reminder that integrity in our judicial system is not just important, it's essential. When judges can be bought, when justice becomes a commodity, we all suffer. But when corruption is exposed and punished, when reforms are implemented and lessons are learned, the system emerges stronger than before. The price of justice is eternal vigilance, not just from law enforcement and prosecutors, but from every citizen who believes in fairness, equality, and the rule of law. What do you think? Was Judge Harrison a criminal mastermind or a desperate man who lost his way? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more shocking true crime stories. Love you guys.